Hey, Riddle here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you're a subscriber. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to share some stories with you today because I'm a bit of a storyteller. I enjoy sharing stories from real life, and I've kind of chosen a lesser than normal life for myself this time around. So when we moved onto this property 5 years ago, it's in Northern California, and the property is surrounded with incredible redwood trees and forest, which really inspired me after living in Los Angeles for almost 20 years. I never could connect to nature in Los Angeles or nature in the city because Los Angeles is a desert. You know, it's a ocean desert. And I'm a woodland Indian, so originally from Ohio, and I actually made my living off the land for almost a decade, weaving baskets from wild grapevine and making wildcraft furniture and such. So coming back to a place that there was forest and moss and ferns was very wonderful to reconnect to the earth. And for the first time in my life actually owned something that I could change and create something permanent on. One of the things that I discovered shortly after living here is that the trees grew in circles. And I thought at first this was just some incredible anomaly. And then after doing some research, they called these fairy rings, but they have nothing to do with fairies. It's actually the fact that about 100 years ago, the loggers, when they did the big slash and burn up in the mountains here and killed the large old redwood trees, they would do something called a slash and burn, and they'd cut the tree and then they would cauterize it, and then that would create the tree not to completely die, but to clone itself. So as the tree cloned itself, all the new parts of it would come up in often a ring around the original stump. You can see that in various places around the property here. So this particular fairy ring that's right on the edge of my property, I thought, wouldn't it be amazing to turn that into some type of hut or structure, something that you could meditate in or just chill in, read in. And I wanted it to be kind of mysterious because there's this hiking trail which is unofficial. It's all private land, but people who respect and are locals are allowed to hike through this walking trail, and it goes for almost 5 miles. You will not see one house, one electric line. It's just an incredible part of or feature of this part of the city, or this part of the topography. So when I was going to do this meditation space, I didn't want to do something too man-made-ish. So I decided that I would use no nails, no screws, no wire, and I would simply use all the broken, fallen branches from the redwoods and start weaving them to create this very arid basket weave, bird nesty kind of walls around the ring that was formed by the cloned redwood trees. And what's interesting that you'll see in a minute here is there's actually depth inside of this. So the walls are actually a lot taller than what they look from the outside. About a week into this, before I'd added the furniture or did anything to the inside, I came out and realized that the neighborhood children, which I never see, were leaving gifts for the fairies. They decided that it was where the fairies lived, and that made a light bulb go off in my head. And I said, oh, that's what this is supposed to be. And I made a very elaborate fairyland for the children of the neighborhood and whoever chanced upon it. Now this is where the story gets interesting. I've put hundreds and hundreds of dollars and hundreds of hours making houses, buying actual crystals, buying actual figurines, hanging and placing all these mirrors in a way that felt really magical. You would think, common sense, that people would respect this space, but I've had some really funny incidents, and it kind of illustrated to me the entitlement that many people have. The first thing that happened was, and this is the funny story, I was so excited that I had created a space that inspired children's imaginations, but what I learned really quickly is it also provoked adult imaginations. I came out one day and I saw this woman, and she was all dressed in black, and she was scurrying away from my property, and I was like, "Hi, hello, hey." And she stopped, and she's acting kind of uncomfortable, and I struck up a conversation with her, and the conversation got odd very quickly. And she told me that she felt like my, what I made here with all the mirrors and everything, that it had opened up a porthole to like negative energies or something evil, and that she had taken upon herself to come up here with some of her other friends that believed in such things to do some type of ritual in order to close the porthole. And then, of course, to leave the positive stuff, whatever that is. So initially, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was really funny, actually. But I was trying to be, cool and respectful of whatever she believed in, whatever her reality was. Because I believe that, there's a saying, reality is the only word in the human language that can always be used in quotations, quotes. So, but then I thought about it. She'd give me her phone number, text, what have you. And I started getting really angry about it because I thought, it was so much like how the Europeans and missionaries often destroy cultures, or, how they assume and dominate other spaces and beliefs with their own. It's like this place, it wasn't her place to come in here and do anything. It wasn't her place to judge it. It wasn't her place to alter it. It was actually quite aggressive and quite offensive to me that she did that. Because what if that, what she felt was actually a protective shield? And what I mean by that is I've made spaces like this before when I lived in Ohio. I lived on the river, and I made this beautiful altar. And the altar was all from stones. The property had a dry river bed running on one side, and it had a large river, the Olentangy, running on the back of the property. It was about 10 acres, and it was in Dublin, Ohio. It was beautiful. And I took a bunch of stones from the river and made an altar when I would pray for friends and this and that and these and those. And people would come onto my property all the time, uninvited, hiking through, and literally destroy it, thinking just because it wasn't Christian or something that they were familiar with, that it was evil and that they had the right to alter it, destroy it, attack it. And, this is what I think is so funny, that so often, I just saw an article in the paper, and it was about Satanists, some problem with Satanists, and I had to laugh because, if you applied critical thinking in regards to literal, statistical, historical violence, murder, and cultural genocide, the Satanists would probably be wouldn't even have a large enough statistic, even as murderers or anything malevolent, compared to any of the other organized religions on this planet, especially the Christians. The Christians. And it just cracks me up that they're so prideful and so judgmental, and they take no responsibility for their own history of violence, murder, and cultural genocide. Kind of like these jerks, these missionaries that go to the Amazon, to those remote tribes, and then wind up taking viruses to them and threatening to, could wipe out the entire indigenous tribe because they act like a virus. They have to convert, and everyone has to be like them because, of course, that's why God made everyone different and created so many different cultures, so they could come in and claim souls for him and turn everyone into the same person. Oy, 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 are humans stupid or what? So, back to the story. After this woman did what she did, and after I told her that I wasn't too happy with it, about a week later I came out here, and somebody had allowed their children to come into this space and trash it. I mean, come on now. This isn't a goddamn communist daycare center. And this is the way people are. Like, they bring their children here. They probably stood outside smoking a cigarette or skittling their diddle, and their kids were in here. And I don't care if they move stuff around and, maybe place a fairy here or there or touch something. That's fine. I am not neurotic about it. I want this to be interactive. But they had broken things. They had trashed things. And nobody supervised this, stopped them. And it just the audacity that I would try to, or anyone would try to create something so selfless, to be so kind, to create this experience, this beauty to share, and then that one person has to come in and ruin it for everyone. So after that, I kind of fell out of love with the space. I know it was just one person, but, I'm a creative person and I tend to be extremely sensitive to these things. And, I emailed neighbors and I pretty much told everyone, the deal. And then I had to hang this crappy sign up to remind people of the obvious. I mean, have people become that stupid? I literally had to break all the mystery of this by hanging a damn sign stating the obvious. So I'm getting over it though, because I'm feeling like with the pandemic right now, people being so trapped, they need magical, beautiful spaces like this more than ever. And this is a place people could come just by themselves or just with their children and not be exposed to germs. So I came out yesterday and there was a lot of, as I told you, the redwood trees, they clone themselves. So they start to shoot up these green shoots, and you have to go around and clean them out from around the base of all the trees on the property because it looks like crap. So when I came in here yesterday, instead of just chopping them down to the ground like I usually do, I created these living arches with them. I used brown wire, which you can't see, which is really cool. And then instead of chopping them down, I gathered them together. And I'm hoping that they're going to continue to grow. And then there'll be these living arches in front of various places, in front of the fairy houses. And next I got to come in and I need to rebuild the little fences and get all the old redwood dander off of everything so it's all clear and clean again. Brighten things up in here. And it's just like having a garden, literally. A very, 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 very detailed sculptural garden. Well, that's it. That's my story today. Thanks for coming to my channel. Thanks for listening to my babble. If you like my quick money-saving tips, stories, garden wisdom, and occasional magic, please subscribe. It helps. I want you to take care of yourselves and take care of each other, because how we treat each other on the streets, I believe, is our ultimate reality.